Through nasty reefs and shallow muck, I trust in my seafaring luck. But till that day, I'll sail along and trust that nothing will go wrong. This poem from '97, Fearless Sailor, just perfectly captures the spirit of adventure, this trust in your own gut instincts. It's a mindset that, as we're about to see, doesn't just conquer oceans, it can build entire empires of innovation.
Okay, so let's get right into it. That quote you're seeing, that's from a sailor and software developer named Martin Picard. And he's not being poetic here. This isn't a metaphor. He is literally saying that a simple fishing bell rigged up to catch dinner on his boat was the direct spark for a multi-million-dollar software product. I mean, how on earth does a ship's bell become the blueprint for Patrol version 1.0? It sounds crazy, right?
Well, this is that story. It's the story of an innovator whose biggest ideas weren't born in some stuffy boardroom, but out in the total solitude of the open ocean. It's just a fantastic reminder that sometimes the biggest breakthroughs happen when you step completely away from the daily grind.
So to really get the invention, you've got to understand the man behind it. I mean, what makes a super successful tech director right at the heart of one of Silicon Valley's hottest companies just decide to drop everything and go sail around the world?
The story starts in a pretty familiar place for a tech prodigy. We're talking Harvard and MIT, with degrees in applied math and computer science. Then, in 1986, he joins this up-and-coming startup that was just about to explode onto the scene, a little company called Oracle.
And listen, he wasn't just some guy at Oracle. He was a total rock star. As the director of networking products, he took the SQL StarNet product line from literally nothing and grew it into a $23 million a year business. And that was in just 4 years. SQL StarNet wasn't just another product either. It was basically the very first real client-server utility out there. He was at the bleeding edge of a huge shift in computing. And all that success, it gave him financial freedom, yeah, but it also lit a fire in him for, a radical change of pace.
So what did he do? He did the thing most of us only ever daydream about. He bought a 34-foot sailboat, which he cheekily named Orca, a little wink and nod to Oracle, and decided to take a sabbatical. And his plan was nothing short of crazy, especially for a new sailor. A solo trip all the way from the US, through the Panama Canal, and back to where he was born in Italy.
But as they say, the sea and, global politics had other plans. He gets to the Panama Canal, and it's closed. Okay, plan B, the Suez Canal. Nope, that was basically a war zone because of the Gulf War. So what does our fearless sailor do? He pivots. He just turns the boat around and sets a new course across the entire Pacific Ocean. The new destination, Sydney, Australia.
And it was on that long, lonely trip across the Pacific that his two worlds kind of smashed into each other, the world of sailing and the world of high-tech software he'd left behind. All those weeks alone at sea gave him time to think. And he wasn't just thinking about catching fish. He was thinking about this massive, unsolved problem that was brewing back in the tech industry.
To really get what he was wrestling with, you have to picture computing in the early 90s. We were moving away from these big, predictable, centralized mainframe systems. Think of it like a single, easy-to-watch lighthouse, and shifting to these complex, distributed networks of Unix machines, which were more like a chaotic, untamed sea full of individual boats. They were powerful for sure, but they were a complete nightmare to monitor and manage.
And this, right here, is where that fishing bell comes roaring back. Picard's solution, which he brilliantly named Patrol, was an event-driven alert system for software. It worked by using these little software agents that would live on every single machine in the network, just constantly watching performance, just like that little bell in his fishing line, waiting patiently for a bite.
The really revolutionary part was the automation. So first, you had these software agents monitoring everything. Easy enough. Second, you'd use what he called knowledge modules to tell the system what normal was supposed to look like. And finally, and this is the absolute genius of it, when a problem popped up, Patrol didn't just wave a red flag. It sent an alert and it could kick off automatic recovery actions. It was proactive, not just sitting around waiting for things to break.
So, armed with this seriously powerful idea that he dreamed up on the high seas, Picard finally lands in Sydney and gets to work turning his vision into a real business. The sailor was about to become a startup CEO all over again. He founded Patrol Software right there in Sydney, and his old connections really paid off. He got backing from Oracle Australia, and just as important, he got some huge early support from major local companies like the Overseas Telecommunications Corporation and KPMG. They basically sponsored him and became his first customers.
And because Patrol solved a problem that literally everyone was having, its growth was just explosive. And we're not talking about small clients here. We're talking global giants. Telecom Australia,
Goldman Sachs in the US, Shell, even CERN, the nuclear research center over in Switzerland. All these massive organizations needed to get their networks under control, and Patrol was the answer. And the result of all that? Get this. In just a year and a half, 18 months, Patrol Software was acquired by the enterprise software giant BMC. The sailor's simple idea, born from a fishing line and a bell, had turned into a massive, multi-million-dollar home run.
Now, for most people, that'd be the end of the story, right? Successful exit right off into the sunset. But for someone with the soul of a fearless sailor, selling the company wasn't the finish line. It was just the money he needed to fund the next adventure.
And what an adventure it's been. He retired in '96 to go sailing again. Then, he decided to become a professional sports photographer. In 2010, he thought, you know what, I'll buy a seaplane and learn to fly it. Then, he jumped right back into the startup game, founding a property management software company called Vreezy, which, of course, he also sold successfully. And today, he's founding an eco-farm project. The guy just never stops.
So what's the real lesson here? For a guy like Picard, innovation isn't a job title you put on LinkedIn, it's a mindset. It's a way of life. Whether he's writing code, sailing an ocean, flying a plane, or planting vegetables, he's always building, always exploring, always solving problems. His resume completely redefines what a career in tech, or really any field, can look like.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. The story of Martin Picard proves that sometimes the biggest, most profound insights don't come from staring harder at your monitor. They come from stepping away completely. So it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is the next world-changing idea buried deep in a spreadsheet? Or is it waiting for someone just over the horizon, out on the open sea?